All right, welcome to the next session. This one is important because I mentioned this before, but I'm going to give you the secret to what allows people to scale their companies, to grow their revenue, to create the freedom in their life that they want, which holds so many people back. So I've learned this in speaking. In my podcast, I talked to some very successful people. One of them has done $1 billion in sales. The other ones have multi-million dollar companies. Some of them have done multiple exits from their businesses. And I've also had coaching from some of the top coaches in the industry, in coaches in general, who they themselves are very successful, not just because they're coaches, but because they have built and scaled companies and they know what it takes. And this is where people get caught up. And this was holding me back in the day. And it was my bad habits. Okay. If you don't pay attention to your habits, they are going to hold you back. You won't even be conscious of it. You'll say, oh, why am I at the ceiling? Why am I not getting past? Like I've plateaued and there's something missing. And it's because there's something that you're clinging on to that you're not willing to let go of. So we already talked, you're going to have to shift your identity. You're going to have to shift, how you view yourself and in turn your actions, of course. But there's a saying that a company cannot grow beyond how much its leader can grow. And that's also going to involve your habits. So let me give you an example. When I was younger, I thought, man, I just love playing video games. I built like a nice fast PC and just playing COD with the boys. I thought, this is so great that I want to build a company and build financial freedom for myself so that I can just relax and play video games all day with my friends. That would be the ideal life. And the reason why people who think that way don't become successful is because if they were successful, they would play video games all day. And those are contradictory desires. They don't work together. So what's interesting is that, on the path to that growth, so that was my initial sort of mindset, was on the path to getting there, I realized, you know what? I don't want to play video games anymore. I could be learning. I could be developing myself. I could be having an impact with my community, serving others. I could be making money so that I can donate. And I thought, there's just better things to do with my time than play video games. I'd rather participate in reality, in the real world. I'll go to the range and shoot some real guns instead of doing it in a video game. I'll go and make some real money instead of collecting it and collecting stats in the virtual world. I'm going to do it in real life. And as you develop, you start to realize that, you get this one lifetime. What are you going to do with it? And so that fell off. And now I've tried it. I've gone back and turned on a game and I said, I have no desire to do this. My perception has entirely shifted. So I'm not telling you have to quit video games right now, but you are going to have to get rid of the habits that are holding you back. So I'll give you my example. This is a safe space. I'm not going to judge you for any habits you may or may not have. But I'm going to tell you the reality, and that I did not build $1 million business. I could not have built $1 million business with these habits, or they would have brought me down from this level. Because they say, money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is, but it's also that money will expand you, will make you more of what you already are. So if you have a drinking habit, you have more money, you're going to have a much larger drinking habit, and it's going to be much more problematic. Okay, so I used to have a cocaine problem. I had to overcome that. I used to be addicted to smoking marijuana. 10 years. There was times where it was daily, twice a day, wake up and get high. That obviously had to go. Smoking cigarettes and then vaping, those had to go. Those are not applicable. They're just contradictory to, working with high-end clients. You walk into their smelling like cigarettes, you already lost the sale. Okay? Drinking. I haven't had a drink in 4 years. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to do this. This is my example. For me, it was holding me back. It was reducing my quality of sleep. It was costing me money. It was, causing me to hang out with people who I didn't want to hang out with because their trajectory in life was not the trajectory that I wanted to be on. Okay? The drugs, the drinking, the sleeping in, porn. I'll admit it, I was addicted to porn. I was it was a problem. It was a huge problem. And that took some time as well. Got over that. It's no longer a problem, I'm very happy to say. Unhealthy habits. I used to say, I'm an adult, which means I can just eat anything I want all the time. And so, the junk food, the sweets, these things that you start to realize, if I go and eat half a cheesecake, that's going to affect you mentally. It's the insulin sugar spikes. It's the, how is your brain processing information? And that, it might sound strange, but it's going to translate into your business. So you start to work on your habits. And then there's the things I wasn't doing, right? So I wasn't exercising regularly. I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't eating on a consistent schedule. All of those things had to change in order for me to be successful. And, you can describe these as vices as well. And I've heard my coach say there's some really, really successful people. They have great companies and they're at that plateau. And there's a vice that they're not willing to let go of. But you know what it is. Because every time you do it, you think in the back of your mind, I shouldn't be doing this. I told myself 2 years ago I didn't want to be doing this anymore because, it's just that inherently you know. You don't need somebody to tell you. You inherently know that it's not healthy, that it's destructive, that it's just a negative pattern that's not going to move you forward. So those you have to be willing to let go of, and you have to start working on that. And that I can walk you through. Send me a message if you want me to walk you through that, because it changed my life and I want it to change other people's lives. But the first thing is to acknowledge it, right? And say, oh yeah, this is a destructive habit, or I am turning to this. Maybe it's just eating a bowl, like a tub of ice cream. And when I'm in a stress response, when I'm uncomfortable, I go straight for the ice cream. And there's all kinds of things that can become vices. Maybe it's reading fictional books and you're spending 4 hours a day reading fiction, or more likely you're just scrolling on TikTok. And, it's this avoidant pattern behavior when, like I said, you don't feel good about yourself. So I'm going to turn to this because it's a source of comfort. Okay, listen, your phone is not supposed to be your source of comfort. Neither is your Xbox or whatever else you're doing, going to the bar every Wednesday with your drinking buddies. No, if you need a source of comfort, you're going to have to go get a shrink and talk it out and actually deal with your emotions like a grown-up. So in a way, I can summarize everything I just said by, you're going to have to grow up and mature if you want to build the company that you're dreaming of. So once again, if you're not prepared to do that, just close this down, fire up Call of Duty, call your buddies, hey, let's get high and play Call of Duty, because you're going to stay at that level and you'll just go through life at that level, which is fine. Some people want to do that and they'll criticize the people who made the effort to move beyond that and who actually said, I'm going to take on the challenge of growing past that. And it's about self-control, right? You talk to Elon Musk, he plays video games, he plays real-time strategy games are his thing, but he doesn't let that come in the way of running his 10 companies plus some portion of the American government. But you're not Elon Musk. So you're going to have to watch out for those habits, for those patterns, and you're going to have to start to develop them. You start to work on that. And yes, you are going to have to let go of some things that maybe you really enjoy. Maybe you just love going to the golf course and you got your golf buddies and your great friends and you have a beard, you've been getting better and your swing's getting better. Look, you're not a professional golfer. You can go golf when your company's doing $3 million a year. You have a general manager who's running the company, but you have to be willing to sacrifice. Okay, so maybe you're going to sacrifice golf for 2 years. Alex Hormozi says this. If you're willing to sacrifice for 2 years that which other people are not willing to sacrifice, then you can have that others don't have. And then you can go golf because the business is taken care of. But if you say, oh no, I'm going to indulge my personal desires first because, I'm important, I need to get what I want. Well, that kind of self-centered thinking is not going to help you to grow a team and a company that can bring you the results that you want. So that's something that you have to be willing to change. So maybe make a list. My list is really long. I'll share it with you. There's a lot of things that I had to change, even If we get into the subtle details, it's beliefs. It's a system of beliefs. How did I feel about successful people? How did I feel about, the wealthy, the rich, the ultra rich? Did I think that they were evil or that they didn't pay taxes? And these are limiting beliefs that you have to reprogram. That's where you need a coach. I talked about a shrink, but you need a coach to help you with those because these are deep down in your subconscious mind. And those are things you will have to work on, but even going back to the other lesson. So you start reading those books, you start developing yourself, and you'll start to notice that your frame of mind changes and you start to develop positive habits. And I could write a whole book on just habits and habit development and how that's going to play into your success. But I'm just giving you the awareness here that that's something you will need to do. All right, catch you on the next one.